Hello, dear readers. Welcome to a world where secrets burn brighter than chandeliers and betrayal cuts deeper than glass. I'm thrilled to invite you into this electrifying saga of ambition, deception, and unspoken love, a tale crafted to keep your heart racing and your eyes glued to every word. This story dances on the edge of opulence and danger, weaving a tapestry of family rivalries, hidden empires, and a woman who dares to rewrite her destiny. So, settle in, let the Hamptons' salty breeze pull you in, and prepare for a journey that's as intoxicating as it is unpredictable. Let's dive into the chaos of the Carter family gala, where one shattering moment changes everything. Subscribe, share your thoughts below, and let's unravel this together. The Hamptons' night was a velvet shroud, pierced by the golden glow of 1,000 fairy lights strung across the Carter estate. The air thrummed with the clink of crystal flutes, the low hum of a string quartet, and the sharp laughter of the elite, their voices slicing through the salt-kissed breeze. The sprawling oceanfront mansion, with its ivory columns and glass walls, stood as a monument to the Carter dynasty's unchallenged reign over New York's high society. Tonight's gala, the family's monthly spectacle of wealth, was no mere dinner. It was a battlefield, where fortunes were flaunted, egos clashed, and secrets simmered beneath polished smiles. Emily Carter stood at the edge of this glittering war zone, her silhouette framed by the towering marble fireplace. The flames danced, casting shadows across her sharp cheekbones, and the simple black dress she'd chosen, thrifted, unassuming, a deliberate rebellion against the couture armor of her kin. Her hazel eyes, flecked with gold, scanned the room with the precision of a hawk. She was no guest here, no bystander. She was the architect of an empire none of them could fathom, a billionaire cloaked in humility, and tonight she was a ticking bomb. The chandelier above, a constellation of Swarovski crystals, swayed imperceptibly. Its weight, a half-ton of opulence, hung like a guillotine over the crowd. Emily's gaze flickered to it, a prickle of unease curling in her chest. She dismissed it, chalking it up to the champagne-soaked haze of the evening, but the air felt wrong, heavy with a menace she couldn't name. "Emily, darling, you're awfully quiet." Aunt Beatrice's voice cut through the din, sharp as a shard of ice. She leaned forward, her emerald necklace glinting like a predator's eyes. "Hiding something, are we?" Her smile was a blade, thinly veiled by etiquette. Emily's lips curved, a flicker of defiance. "Just enjoying the show, Aunt Beatrice." She lifted her glass of sparkling water, the bubbles catching the light like tiny stars. "The show, indeed." Her cousins, Logan and Victoria, were already deep in their ritual of one-upmanship, their voices rising over the quartet's mournful strains. Logan, all bronzed arrogance and tailored Tom Ford, swirled his bourbon with a smirk. "Just closed on a private island off the Bahamas. 50 acres, coral reefs, and a helipad. Neighbor's some crypto king who's basically printing money." His eyes darted to Victoria, daring her to top him. Victoria, her platinum hair cascading like a waterfall, tossed her head back with a laugh that was more weapon than mirth. "Oh, Logan, that's cute. I just signed for a penthouse on the Seine. Top floor, private elevator, and a view that makes the Louvre look like a postcard. You can't buy that kind of prestige." She flicked open her Chanel clutch, pulling out her phone to flash a photo, her diamond bracelet winking like a warning. Emily's fingers tightened around her glass, her amusement a secret she guarded fiercely. If only they knew. Her cousin's boasts were pebbles tossed into the ocean of her own achievements. Horizon Ventures, her brainchild, was a $3,200,000,000 zero-cents juggernaut. Tech startups, luxury hotels, urban developments, all woven into a legacy of ethical innovation. And the Carter Grand Hotel, the very stage for this gala, was hers. acquired 6 months ago in a silent coup they'd never trace back to her. To them, she was Emily, the family's quiet failure, scraping by in a Brooklyn loft. In truth, she was the shadow pulling their strings. The chandelier swayed again, a low creak echoing through the vaulted ceiling. Emily's heart stuttered. She glanced at Mia, her assistant, stationed discreetly by the French doors. Mia's brow furrowed, catching the same sound. Something was wrong. "Emily," Logan's voice dripped with faux concern. "We were just wondering about that little rental of yours. Brooklyn, right? Still slumming it in that loft on Willow Street?" He leaned back, his grin a challenge. Victoria chimed in, her tone saccharine. "I mean, I didn't even know people our age still rented. It's so quaint." Her eyes gleamed with malice, savoring the jab. Emily set her glass down, the clink deliberate. "I like the space." Her voice was calm, a still lake hiding a riptide. The Willow Street complex wasn't just her home, it was her first conquest, bought through Horizon Ventures years ago. To them, she was a tenant. To the world, she was the landlord. Beatrice's laugh was a whip crack. "You're 35, sweetheart. Time to grow up. Buy something real, not some crumbling walk-up." Her patronizing smile made Emily's skin crawl, but she held her ground, her silence a weapon. The chandelier's creak grew louder, a groan of metal and glass. Heads turned, murmurs rippling through the crowd. Emily's pulse quickened. She stepped forward, her instincts screaming, "Everyone, move!" The world exploded in a deafening crash. The chandelier tore free, plummeting like a meteor. Screams erupted as guests scattered, tables overturning, champagne flutes shattering. Emily dove, tackling an elderly guest to the floor as the crystal behemoth smashed into the parquet, sending shards flying like shrapnel. Dust choked the air, and for a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the sob of a violin bow skidding across strings. Emily's ears rang, her breath ragged. She pushed herself up, glass crunching beneath her palms. Blood trickled from a cut on her forearm, but she barely noticed. Her eyes locked on the wreckage, jagged crystals, twisted metal, and a single chilling detail. A severed cable, its edges too clean, too precise. This was no accident. "Emily?" Mia's voice broke through the haze, her assistant rushing to her side. "Are you okay?" Emily nodded, her mind racing. "Get security, now!" Her voice was steel, but inside a storm churned. Someone had wanted her dead, or at least shaken, and in this room suspects were legion. The gala dissolved into chaos. Guests fled, their designer heels clicking like gunfire. Logan and Victoria stood frozen, their faces pale, while Beatrice clutched her pearls, her composure shattered. Emily's father, Richard, emerged from the crowd, his silver hair disheveled. "Emily, thank God!" he rasped, pulling her into a rare embrace. His warmth was fleeting, tainted by the distance that had grown between them since her mother's death a decade ago. "I'm fine, Dad," she said, pulling back. Her eyes scanned the room, cataloging every face, every flicker of guilt. The Carters were a family of vipers, and she'd just dodged their first strike. As security cordoned off the wreckage, Emily's mind rewound to earlier that evening. Driving to the estate, the Hamptons cliffs looming like sentinels, her car had faltered. The brakes, sluggish at first, had failed entirely, sending her SUV skidding toward a sheer drop. She'd yanked the wheel, fishtailing onto the shoulder, her heart slamming against her ribs as the ocean roared below. A mechanic's inspection later revealed cut brake lines, sabotage unmistakable. She hadn't told anyone, not even Mia. But now, with the chandelier's fall, the pattern was clear. Someone wanted her out of the game. The gala resumed in a smaller salon, the mood brittle. Emily stood by a window, the Atlantic's dark expanse mirroring her thoughts. Mia slipped her a tablet, her voice low. Preliminary report from the team. The chandelier's support was tampered with. Clean cuts, professional job. Emily's jaw tightened. Cross-reggers guest lists with known contractors. And check Logan's recent calls. Her cousin's smug face flashed in her mind. Logan, with his island and his debts, had the motive and the means. But was he bold enough to try murder? "Emily, you're shaking," Mia said, her brown eyes soft with concern. She was more than an assistant. Mia was Emily's confidant, the sister she'd never had. Their bond, forged in late-night strategy sessions and shared dreams, was a lifeline in this viper's nest. "I'm fine," Emily lied, her fingers brushing the cut on her arm. The sting grounded her, a reminder of what was at stake. Horizon Ventures wasn't just a company, it was her soul, built from the ashes of a childhood spent in her family's shadow. Her mother, Claire, had believed in her, whispering dreams of a better world before cancer stole her away. Emily had vowed to honor that faith, to build something real, not just buy and flaunt like her kin. Logan's voice cut through her reverie. "Well, that was a spectacle. Emily, you're lucky you didn't end up a pancake." His grin was too easy, too practiced. Beside him, Victoria sipped her martini, her eyes narrowing. "Lucky?" Emily echoed, her tone flat. "Funny how luck works." She let the words hang, watching Logan's smile falter. Victoria's fingers tightened on her glass, a tell Emily filed away. Beatrice swept over, her perfume a cloud of jasmine and ambition. "Emily, you must be traumatized. Why don't you stay in the guest cottage tonight? We'd hate for you to drive back to that loft of yours." Her pity was a performance, but Emily saw the calculation beneath it. They wanted her close, controllable. "I'm good, Aunt Beatrice," Emily said, her smile a mirror of her aunt's. "My landlord's pretty accommodating." The lie was effortless, a shield. The Willow Street complex, with its red brick charm and century-old oaks, was hers, bought, restored, and cherished. Its tenants, families, and artists who'd called it home for decades were her silent allies, their loyalty earned through fair rents and meticulous care. Victoria's laugh was a blade. "A landlord? Oh, Emily, you're too old for this bohemian nonsense. The Carter name used to mean something." Her words dripped with scorn, but Emily caught the flicker of unease in her eyes. Victoria sensed a shift, a threat she couldn't name. "Leech still means something," Emily said softly, her gaze locking with Victoria's. "Just not what you think." The room seemed to still, the weight of her words settling like dust. She was no longer the girl they'd mocked, the coder who'd dropped out of MIT to find herself. She was Horizon Ventures, the force reshaping their world, and soon they'd know it. The night dragged on, the gala's glamour tarnished by the near tragedy. Emily slipped onto the terrace, the ocean's roar a balm to her frayed nerves. She closed her eyes, letting the salt air wash over her. Memories of her mother flooded in, Claire's laughter, her gentle hands braiding Emily's hair, her whispered promise. "You're meant for more, my love. Don't let them dim your light." Tears stung Emily's eyes, a rare crack in her arm. She'd built Horizon for her mother, for the world Claire had dreamed of, but the cost was solitude, a heart guarded by steel. A shadow moved behind her. She spun, her hand instinctively reaching for the small knife she kept strapped to her thigh, a habit born of too many close calls. It was only Mia, her face pale. "Emily, you need to see this." She handed over a flash drive, her voice trembling. Found it in my inbox, anonymous. It's a recording from Horizon's server room. Someone's been leaking our acquisition plans to Logan. Emily's blood ran cold. A mole. Her empire, her sanctuary had been breached. She plugged the drive into her phone, the audio crackling to life. Logan's voice, unmistakable. Bartered with an unknown contact. She's moving on Carter Grand. We need to stop her before she digs deeper. The call cut off, but the implication was a knife to her gut. Logan wasn't just greedy, he was dangerous. We tightened security, Emily said, her voice low. Triple encryption, new access codes. And get me everything on Logan's financials. If he's desperate enough to sell me out, he's drowning in debt. Her mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. The brake lines, the chandelier, the mole. Logan was orchestrating a war, but why? What did he know? Mia hesitated. Emily, there's more. The board's spooked. If your identity as Horizon's CEO leaks before the takeover, our stock could crash. Investors don't like surprises, especially not a Carter family feud. Emily's chest tightened, the weight of her empire pressing down. She'd built Horizon from nothing, coding in a cramped dorm room while her family laughed. Now it was a beacon, a promise of progress, and she'd die before letting it fall. Then we move faster, she said. The board meeting's tomorrow. We expose them before they expose me. As Mia nodded, a gust of wind carried the scent of smoke. Emily's eyes snapped to the horizon, where a faint orange glow flickered. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your loft. It's getting warm. Her heart stopped. Willow Street was 20 miles away, but the threat was clear. She grabbed Mia's arm. Call the fire department, now! They raced to Emily's SUV, the same one that had nearly killed her hours earlier. The drive was a blur, the Hamptons' winding roads a gauntlet of shadows. Emily's mind churned, guilt and fury colliding. Her tenants, families, elders, dreamers were in danger because of her. She'd vowed to protect them, to be their shield, but now her war had brought the flames to their door. Sirens wailed as they reached Willow Street. The complex, her pride, was engulfed in smoke, flames licking the upper floors. Firefighters battled the blaze, but Emily's eyes locked on a figure in the crowd. Logan, his face unreadable, watching the inferno. Their gazes met, and for a moment, the world narrowed to the two of them, hunter and prey. He turned away, vanishing into the night, but his message was clear. This was war. Emily threw herself into the chaos, helping tenants to safety, her dress torn, her hands blistered. Mrs. Alvarez, a tenant since the 80s, clung to her, sobbing. You saved us, Miss Carter. You always do. Emily's throat burned, not from smoke but from the weight of their trust. She wasn't just their landlord, she was their guardian, and she'd failed them tonight. As dawn broke, the fire was contained, the damage severe but not total. Emily stood amid the wreckage, her heart a battlefield of rage and resolve. The arson report would come later, but she knew the truth. Logan, or someone he'd hired, had struck at her core. She touched the locket at her throat, a gift from her mother, and whispered a vow. I'll burn their empire before they touch mine again. Back at her temporary safe house, a sleek Manhattan penthouse she rarely used, Emily pored over the mole's files. The leaks traced back to a junior analyst, bribed by Logan's shell company. But the bigger question gnawed at her. What was Logan hiding? The Carter Grand Hotel was a jewel, but its books were a labyrinth of fraud. $10 million 0 cents siphoned, invoices faked, budgets bled dry. Logan's Island, Victoria's penthouse, Beatrice's art collection, all funded by theft from the family legacy. Her phone pinged, a new message from the unknown number. Boardroom, tomorrow. Come alone or the next fires at Carter Grand. Emily's blood chilled. The threat was bold, personal and impossibly precise. Someone knew her plans, her vulnerabilities. She glanced at Mia, asleep on the couch, and felt a pang of guilt. Mia deserved better than this war, but Emily couldn't fight alone. As she prepared for the boardroom showdown, Emily's thoughts drifted to her mother. Claire had loved the Hamptons, her laughter echoing on these shores. Emily had been 16 when cancer claimed her, leaving a void no empire could fill. But Claire's words lingered. Build something that matters, Emily. Love fiercely, even when it hurts. Emily's heart ached for that love, for someone to share this burden. She'd pushed away every suitor, every chance at connection, fearing betrayal. But tonight, with death so close, she wondered if she'd been wrong to lock her heart away. The boardroom loomed, a coliseum where she'd face her family's wrath, Logan's betrayal, Victoria's venom, Beatrice's scheming. They'd underestimated her for the last time. Emily donned her armor, an Armani suit that hugged her like a second skin, its navy hue a quiet storm. She slipped her mother's locket beneath her collar, a talisman of strength. The world would know her name tomorrow, not as Emily Carter, the family's shame, but as Horizon's queen, the woman who'd rewrite their legacy in fire and truth. As she stepped into the dawn, the city's pulse matched her own. The Hamptons' gala was just the beginning. The chandeliers fall, the sabotaged brakes, the fire. They were salvos in a war she hadn't chosen but would win. Logan thought he could break her, but he'd forgotten one truth. A Carter never yields. And Emily? She was the deadliest Carter of all. To be continued. Don't miss what happens when Emily storms the boardroom and the Carter Empire crumbles. Subscribe for the next chapter and let me know in the comments, who do you think is behind the sabotage? What's Logan hiding? Let's unravel this mystery together. The Manhattan dawn bled gold across the skyline, its light fracturing through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Emily Carter's penthouse office. From the 60th floor, Central Park sprawled below like a green heartbeat, pulsing with the city's restless energy. Emily stood at the glass, her reflection a study in contrasts. The tailored navy Armani suit, sharp as a blade, clashed with a faint bruise on her cheek from last night's fire. Her hazel eyes, flecked with defiance, burned with a fire no blaze could match. The Willow Street inferno had scorched her home, her sanctuary, but it hadn't touched her resolve. If anything, it had forged it anew, a steel forged in rage and purpose. Her phone vibrated on the desk, a single message glowing in the dim. Boardroom, 9 a.m., come alone, or Carter Grand burns next. The words were a venomous echo of the threat that had followed the fire, each syllable a needle in her spine. Emily's fingers brushed the locket at her throat, her mother's gift, its cool silver grounding her. Claire's voice whispered through the years, "You're stronger than their lies, my love. Build what lasts." Today, Emily would honor that promise. Or die trying. Mia, her assistant and closest ally, burst through the door, her usual composure frayed. Her dark curls were tangled, her eyes shadowed from a sleepless night. "Emily, the audit packets are ready. Forensic team found more than we expected. $10 million, 0 cents in discrepancies, shell companies, even ties to offshore accounts." She set a stack of folders on the desk, their weight a silent accusation. Logan's Island deal alone drained $5 million, 0 cents from Carter Grand's maintenance fund. Victoria's consulting fees, $3 million, 0 cents, went straight to her Paris penthouse. And Beatrice, her art collection's invoices are a masterclass in money laundering. Emily's jaw tightened, her mind racing. The Carters weren't just greedy. They were reckless. their fraud a house of cards begging to collapse, but the offshore accounts hinted at something darker, a shadow player beyond her cousin's petty schemes. "Cross-check those accounts with Logan's contacts," she said, her voice low, "and get me security footage from the gala. Someone cut that chandelier cable and I want a face." Mia hesitated, her fingers twisting the hem of her blazer. "There's more. I traced the leak from our server room. The junior analyst, Elliot, he's gone. Vanished after wiring $50,000 0 cents to a Cayman account linked to Logan. But the metadata on the stolen files, it's encrypted, military grade. This isn't just Logan, Emily. Someone bigger is watching." The words landed like a fist. Emily's office, her fortress, had been breached. Last night's discovery? That her acquisition plans for Carter Grand were leaked? Had shaken her, but this was worse. Military-grade encryption meant resources, intent, a predator circling her empire. Her gaze flicked to the safe in the corner, where a single USB drive held her contingency plan, a press release announcing her identity as Horizon Ventures CEO, timed for after the boardroom coup. If it leaked early, her stock could plummet, her investors could bolt, and her vision, a world of ethical innovation, could crumble. "Lock down the servers," Emily ordered, her voice steady despite the storm in her chest, "and call in our cybersecurity team. I want that encryption cracked by noon." She turned back to the window, the city's pulse syncing with her own. Logan was a pawn, she was sure of it. But whose? The anonymous threats, the sabotaged breaks, the fire. Each was a move in a chess game she hadn't chosen to play. The elevator ride to Carter Grand's boardroom was a descent into the lion's den. Emily stood alone, her briefcase heavy with audit reports, legal filings, and the weight of her mother's dreams. The locket burned against her skin, a reminder of why she fought. Claire had loved this hotel, its Art Deco grandeur a canvas for her stories of a better world. Emily had bought it 6 months ago, not for profit, but for legacy. To restore what her family had today, she'd reclaim it, or lose everything. The boardroom doors loomed, their mahogany sheen a facade for the rot within. Emily paused, her reflection distorted in the polished surface. Gone was the thrifted blazer, the scuffed boots. The Armani suit hugged her like armor, its lines a silent vow, "I am no one's prey." She pushed the doors open, and the room fell silent. The Carter family sat at the far end of the obsidian table, a tableau of arrogance and unease. Logan, his bronzed smirk faltering, toyed with a Mont Blanc pen. Victoria, her platinum hair a crown, scrolled her phone with forced nonchalance. Aunt Beatrice, her emerald necklace glinting, clutched a coffee cup like a lifeline. Richard, Emily's father, looked up from his tablet, his silver hair catching the light. His eyes, so like her mother's, held a flicker of guilt, a rare crack in his stoic facade. "Who are you?" Logan barked, his voice a whip. "This is a private meeting." Emily placed her briefcase at the head of the table, her movements deliberate. "I'm Emily Carter," she said, her voice a blade wrapped in silk. "Founder and CEO of Horizon Ventures, the company that owns this hotel and the legacy you've been looting for decades." The room detonated. Beatrice gasped, her cup shattering on the floor. Victoria's phone slipped from her fingers, cracking against the table. Logan's face drained of color, his pen clattering like a gunshot. Richard's hands froze, his tablet forgotten. "Emily," he breathed, the word a prayer and a curse. "Good morning," Emily said, her smile a razor. She opened her briefcase, sliding audit reports across the table like indictments. "Shall we review your financials?" "This is insane," Logan stammered, his voice cracking. "You're just... what? The dropout? The renter? The nobody in secondhand clothes? Emily leaned forward, her eyes locking with his. I'm the woman who built a $3,200,000,000 0 cents empire while you were stealing from your own blood. Her words were a guillotine, severing their illusions. She flipped open a folder, her voice steady. Logan, care to explain the $5 million 0 cents in roof repairs that funded your Bahamas island? Or you, Victoria, how about the $3 million 0 cents in consulting fees for a penthouse that doesn't exist? Victoria's lips parted, but no sound came. Beatrice swayed, her hand clutching her chest. You air our laundry like this? She gasped. Your own family? No, Emily said, her gaze unflinching. You aired it. I'm just cleaning it up. She turned to her father, her heart twisting. Dad, you knew. You let them bleed Carter Grand dry. Richard's face crumpled, his voice a whisper. Emily, sweetheart, we can explain. Don't, she cut him off, her hand raised. I watched you mock my life while I built something real. Values, not vanity. You assumed wealth had to scream. I let it whisper. The boardroom's silence was a living thing, thick with panic and awe. Phones buzzed, screens lighting up with a Bloomberg alert. Horizon Ventures reveals CEO Emily Carter, estranged Carter heiress, confirmed as owner of $3.20 B Empire. Victoria fumbled her phone, her voice trembling. Ranked among top ethical innovators, tenant protections, historic preservation. This will ruin us, Logan whispered, his bravado gone. No, Emily said, her voice a vow. This will save you from yourselves. Effective today, Carter Grand operates transparently. No more shell games, no more theft. She slid a final document across the table. And if you don't comply, these reports go to the IRS. They'll find them enlightening. The room held its breath. The weight of her words a thunderclap. Logan's eyes darted to the door, as if he could outrun the truth. Victoria's nails dug into her palms, her composure a memory. Beatrice's pearls twitched, her face a mask of dread. Richard reached for Emily's hand, but she pulled back, her heart a fortress. A sharp crack split the air. The boardroom's massive window shattered, glass raining like diamonds. Screams erupted as a drone, its blades whirring, hovered outside, a camera glinting in the morning sun. Emily dove under the table, pulling Mia with her. Get down! She shouted, her pulse a war drum. The drone's lens zeroed in on her, its red light a predator's eye, before it veered away, vanishing into the skyline. Security stormed in, their radios crackling. Emily crawled out, glass crunching beneath her knees, her eyes locked on Logan, who stood frozen, his phone clutched like a confession. What did you do? She hissed, her voice venom. Nothing, he snapped, but his eyes betrayed him. Fear, guilt, a man cornered. Mia grabbed Emily's arm, her voice urgent. The drone streamed live. Your face, the audits, it's all over X. The leak wasn't just internal. Someone wanted the world to know. Emily's stomach dropped. Her carefully timed reveal, her ace, had been stolen. Horizon's stock was already dipping, investors panicking at the Carter name's toxicity. She glanced at the shattered window, the city sprawling beyond. The drone wasn't just a stunt. It was a declaration of war, and she was exposed. As security cleared the room, Emily's phone pinged with another anonymous text. You can't hide now. Step down, or the next crash isn't glass. Her blood chilled. The threats were escalating, each one a step closer to her throat. She thought of the fire, the brakes, the jet, her private plane, sabotaged mid-flight last week, had forced an emergency landing in Connecticut, her hands shaking as she gripped the armrests, and the gala, where a hired thug had trailed her through the crowd, his knife glinting before she'd lost him in the chaos. Someone wasn't just playing, they were hunting. Back in her penthouse, Emily paced, the city's lights a constellation of questions. Mia sat at the desk, hacking the stolen files' encryption. "These aren't just acquisition plans," Mia said, her voice tight. "There's a dossier. Your childhood, your mother's death, even your MIT dropout. Someone's been digging, Emily, deep." Emily's heart stuttered. Her mother, Claire, was her wound, her strength. The idea of her memory being weaponized was a violation she couldn't bear. "Who sent it?" she demanded, her voice raw. "Still tracing," Mia said. "But the IP bounces through servers in Dubai, Moscow, Hong Kong. This is global, Emily. And the dossier mentions a manifesto. Your great-grandfather's. It's coded, but it sounds like a blueprint for the Carter Empire. If it's real, it could rewrite everything." The manifesto. Emily's breath caught. Her great-grandfather, Elias Carter, had built Carter Grand with a vision of community, not greed. Family lore spoke of his lost writings, a guide to ethical wealth, dismissed as myth. If it existed, and her enemies had it, they could twist it. Or worse, destroy it. She thought of the anonymous texts, the drone, the mole. Was this about money, or something deeper? Revenge? Power? Or a ghost from her past? A knock shattered her thoughts. Mia drew a taser, her eyes sharp. Emily motioned her back, opening the door to find her father, his face haggard. "Emily," he said, his voice breaking. "I was wrong. About you. About everything. Let me help." She studied him, the man who'd chosen silence over defense, wealth over family. His eyes held a flicker of the father she'd loved, the one who'd carried her on his shoulders through the Hamptons dunes. But trust was a luxury she couldn't afford. "Why now?" she asked, her voice cold. "Because I see her in you," he said, his voice cracking. "Claire, she'd be proud, Emily. And I failed her. Let me make it right." Tears stung Emily's eyes, a betrayal of her armor. She wanted to believe him, to bridge the decade of distance, but Logan's betrayal loomed. "Prove it," she said, stepping back. "Find out what Logan's hiding, and don't lie to me again." He nodded, his shoulders sagging. As he left, Emily's phone buzzed, a call from an unlisted number. She answered, her voice steely. "Who is this?" A woman's voice, soft and achingly familiar, filled the line. "Emily, it's me. We need to talk." The world tilted. Her mother was dead, but the voice, her cadence, her warmth, was unmistakable. "Meet me at Willow Street, midnight. Come alone." The line went dead. Emily's knees buckled, her hand clutching the locket. It was impossible, a cruel trick. Yet her heart screamed otherwise. Claire's death had shattered her, but what if? What if? The manifesto, the dossier, the voice, pieces of a puzzle she couldn't solve. She glanced at Mia, who watched with quiet worry. "I'm going," Emily said, her voice trembling. "Cover me." Midnight found Emily at Willow Street, the complex's charred facade a ghost of its former glory. The air was thick with ash and memory. She stood by the oak tree where she'd scattered her mother's ashes, her heart a war of hope and dread. A figure emerged from the shadows, hooded, petite. Emily's breath caught as the hood fell, revealing a face she'd mourned for 10 years. "Mom," she whispered, her voice breaking. The woman's eyes, Claire's eyes, shimmered with tears. "Not quite," she said, her voice a melody of pain. "I'm Elise, your mother's twin. She never told you about me." The revelation was a sledgehammer. Emily staggered, her world fracturing. A twin, hidden all these years. Elise's story poured out. Claire's secret, her exile after a family feud, her work uncovering Elias's manifesto. "It's real," Elise said, her voice urgent. "And Logan's buyer wants it. They'll kill to keep it buried." Before Emily could respond, headlights flared. A black SUV roared toward them, tires screeching. Emily grabbed Elise, diving behind the oak as gunfire erupted, bark splintering. Her knife was in her hand, her pulse a drumbeat. "Run!" she shouted, shoving Elise toward the alley. They sprinted, bullets grazing the air, until they reached a safe house. Emily's heart pounding with adrenaline and betrayal. Inside, Elise collapsed, sobbing. "I thought I could protect you," she whispered. "Claire wanted you to have the manifesto. It's the key to everything. Elias's vision, the Carter legacy. Logan's working with a syndicate. They'll destroy you to get it." Emily's mind raced, fury and love colliding. Her mother's twin, her family's lies, a syndicate. She was drowning in secrets. But the manifesto was her North Star, a chance to honor Claire's dream. She hugged Elise, their tears mingling, a bond forged in loss. "We'll find it," Emily vowed, "and we'll burn them down." As dawn broke, Emily stood on her penthouse balcony, the city a canvas of possibility and peril. The boardroom had been her opening salvo, but the war was just beginning. Logan's lawsuit loomed, claiming her audits were forged. The syndicate's shadow grew, their reach global, and Elise's arrival, a miracle and a mystery, raised questions she couldn't answer. Who was the voice on the phone? What did the manifesto hide? And why had Claire kept Elise a secret? Emily touched her locket, her mother's love aflame in her chest. She wasn't just fighting for Horizon, for Carter Grand. She was fighting for Claire, for Elise, for the girl who'd dreamed under the Hamptons stars. The syndicate thought they could break her, but they'd forgotten one truth. A Carter's heart was unbreakable. And Emily's? It was a wildfire, ready to consume them all, to be continued. The stakes are higher, the secrets darker. Subscribe for Chapter 3, and tell me in the comments. Who's behind the syndicate? What's in the manifesto? And can Emily trust Elise? Let's keep this fire burning.